Hello and welcome to week 2. Keep the basics of writing instruction in mind as you move through the week. Encourage daily time to write and set expectations such as what the writing space should look like. Help students understand that writing is a recursive process that involves planning, drafting, receiving feedback, revising, and publishing or sharing. Finally, use mentor texts and models so that students can visualize a finished product. Don't forget to write with the students. Together you form a community of writers. Day 1. This week, students will explore expository writing. Before you show them the invitation to write, you might mention that expository writing explains, illustrates, or exposes something, which is the root word of expository. In the students' Lit Lab guidebook, they will receive this week's invitation to write and to move through the steps of the writing process. The week 2 invitation tells students to get their magnifying glasses and go outside, to look carefully at the ground, on plants and trees, and in the air. What do they observe or see? Like a scientist, they will use the space below to draw and label their findings. Scientists call these field notes or field sketching. Let's move on to the planning stage. Prior to initiating the planning activity, you might want to show students what field notes look like. Along with the drawings, field notes include observations and wonderings. Then, in the space provided in the students' Lit Lab guidebook, have them draw and label their discoveries. This week, they will use plain white paper to plan. Read the additional planning ideas aloud to them. These include observe with a magnifying glass, draw what you see, write questions or start sentences with I wonder why, and use colors to show details. As always, encourage their creativity. Model the process for them and share your drawings with them. Whether face-to-face or remote, encourage the students to share their planning sketches too. Next, students will move on to drafting. When it is time for the students to move from planning to drafting, have them use their composition notebooks. Tell the students to use their composition notebook to explain or make clear in detail one thing they drew so that other young scientists can learn about their findings. Have the students tell their readers where they found the item, share the color and size, and explain why it's of interest to them. When writing with them first, you could start the conversation with, we know that writers use expository writing to explain something. I'm going to write about what I discovered when I took my magnifying glass outside and explored. What are some ideas that you can give me to get me started? Then, model using the writer's composition notebook to draft your expository writing. You can show the students your draft and read it aloud. I saw a small butterfly. It had red wings with black spots on it. It was about to land on a yellow flower. I think it will eat something in the flower. I like butterflies. Remember, students might have time to start this on day 1. If not, encourage them to draft their explanations before they return for day 2. Day 2. When possible, make time for feedback. On day 2, students can gather feedback from you and their peers. Have the students turn to the feedback guide located on the last page of the Students Lit Lab guidebook. Using the sentence and question stems provided, or those that have worked well for you in the past, have students ask others to provide praise, questions, or suggestions. You can also prompt students to focus on specific aspects, such as their ideas, vocabulary, design, and/or effort. After students have received feedback or have looked over the writing themselves, give them time to polish their pieces. Have them create revision lists where they can focus on a few items to work on. These lists can be added to their composition notebooks or placed on sticky notes or note cards. You can model this process too. For example, the students might tell me that I need to add where I saw the butterfly and why I like butterflies. Now consider ways that students can share their writing with their peers. Use the designated space or virtual background that signals the featured author and have peers respond with finger snapping, clapping, emojis, or GIFs. We of course want students to believe that writing is a joyful act. Making time for reflection is an excellent way to build students' self-efficacy and identity, both as a writer and as someone who might pursue a STEM career. Questions could include the following. As a writer, what did you do well this week? What might you try differently next week? Which example in your writing makes you most proud? What did you learn about scientists this week? Could you imagine yourself becoming a scientist one day? Don't forget to capture students' work, words, and wonderment and add them to the artifact gallery. And as always, if you have any questions throughout the week, please feel free to reach out to me via email. I always look forward to hearing about our young authors and their writing.